Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Jen, also known as BPD Woman, and I welcome you back to the channel. On this channel, I talk about my experiences living with, dealing with, coping with, and recovering from my borderline personality disorder. This is a no judgment free zone. All are welcome. If you are living with BPD, want to know more about BPD, or are a family member or friend of someone and you'd like to support them, you're in the right place. So welcome to everyone. As always, please like, share, subscribe. I love hearing your thoughts and feedback. So welcome back. I'm putting out 4 videos today. So I just got motivated. So happy Halloween. And I'd love to today recommend some DBT and other helpful borderline personality resources that I think you might also feel might be helpful to you. Once again, I'm Jen. I am not a doctor, a psychologist, PhD, but I am an expert in living with the disorder, as I have for the last 20 years. And I've been through multiple rounds of DBT, have read about every important book a few times, done the workbooks, done the courses, and I've seen an improvement in my life. So today, let's talk about some of the resources that I recommend, and also tips on looking for what to look for when you're searching for reliable information, and also how to find a DBT group. And I'm just looking at some notes here. The first thing that I want to say is if you have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, congratulations, because there is more information, more research, more successful treatment modalities, and more people that are aware of BPD than any other personality disorder. If you have BPD, you have a higher chance of recovering from your maladaptive behaviors. Also, if you have a disorder, a personality disorder, take heart in knowing that it is, I hate to say easier, but it can be easier to treat than, say, having a chemical imbalance such as bipolar disorder, manic depression, major depressive disorder, anything where there's an imbalance in the brain. A personality disorder is not the same as a mood disorder. They are separate. So of the personality disorders, there are, I think, 3 or 4 clusters. There's about 15 to 20 personality disorders. So if you've got BPD, know that you are among the majority of people with the disorder, and there are the most available resources available to you. So that's really great news. Now, in my last 2 videos, I talked about I've been diagnosed with borderline, now what? Well, now I want to talk about a second component, resources that I recommend, and they're going to pop up here in the corners. As always, like, share, subscribe, comment. I love to hear what you have to say. So reading off my notes here, hope this isn't too distracting. The first thing that I want to stress is, like any other kind of research that you do, make sure that you are choosing limited, knowledgeable, vetted resources on borderline personality disorder. Make sure there's a .edu or a .gov or a .net in the website address that you're going to. If you are Psychology Today, like psychology.com, a wealth of great articles on psychology.com. Just like any other research that's out there on the internet, you're not going to trust everything, right? You know, if you get your news from Facebook, you may be getting misinformation. If you get all of your research from Wikipedia, a site where anybody can add what they want, you have unreliable information. You want to make sure that if you're reading an article or a website, that the author or the group of authors is either a psychologist, someone who has lived with the disorder, is a research or a think tank, that it's backed up by facts and data. Great websites, as I just mentioned, are psychology.com. You know, if I'm feeling sad or something, and like maybe I've broken up with a boyfriend, you know, I might put BPD in relationships, news, and there are always so many articles from psychology.com that are helpful to me. And what I often do, if I find something that's helpful, I'll mark it and I'll actually copy it to my homepage on my phone, and then I'll create a little folder so that I can quickly access these articles that I find helpful. Do what works for you. So psychology.com I think is really great. Again, Dr. Daniel Fox, there's not much on his website. There are some really great worksheets on his website. So it's like, I believe it's drdanielfox.com. Again, I'll put a little screenshot up in the corner so you can take a look. There are authors out there that also have websites. So Marsha Linehan, who created DBT and is also a woman, she's also a psychologist. She has the disorder, or maybe she's now fully recovered. Check out her information. Just make sure that you're going to a website that doesn't have a lot of emotional language, that's not negative to borderlines, it doesn't seem to have a biased opinion, and you're looking for people that are researchers, psychologists, or people that have lived with the disorder. I highly recommend staying off places like Quora, Reddit, any online forums. Don't look at a lot of comments people leave. Haters gonna hate. So it's not going to be useful. It's going to make you feel bad about yourself. So that's where to start with online research. I highly, highly recommend Dr. Daniel Fox. Again, he has a workbook for BPD. He has his own website. He has multiple texts that he's written. Some are workbook and information-based. Others are research-based. You can type in Dr. Daniel Fox personality disorders. He'll come right up. I have his workbook. I think it's great. It's kind of a work at your own pace workbook. And I have found it super helpful. Dr. Daniel Fox is a psychologist who specializes in personality disorders. This is all he does. So he's not just a therapist, a generalized therapist. This guy knows what he's talking about. And he does it in a way that is not judgmental and is very helpful and easy to understand. He has a website, and he also has a YouTube channel, and I'm going to put a screenshot of what that looks like. And he covers other personality disorders like narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder, but he really is heavy on BPD, so take a look at that. The books that I recommend getting started with are I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. That's a really good intro that describes what BPD is, and it gives some real world examples. Another great one is by Randy Krieger, and it's called Stop Walking on Eggshells. I recommend that. A book that is designed for family members or other people that would be a reader outside of someone who has the disorder is by Sherry Manning. And that book is called Loving Someone with Borderline Personality Disorder. Those are 3 really great texts to get started. I also, obviously, Marsha Linehan, she wrote the original DBT guidebook. Now, there's 2 versions. One is DBT skills and worksheets for those, actually, it's designed for those participating in the class, the DBT class. There's also an instruction manual that you may find interesting that's written for the psychologists conducting and leading the courses. So one's a skills training and one's a workbook. Take a look at those. Those are interesting. An app. I absolutely adore this app, so I'm going to put it up here at the top. I've been using this app for the last 7-8 years. It's a pay app. I think it's $10. It was when I bought it, and it's $10 for life, so it doesn't renew. It's not a subscription, anything like that. It's really great. I cannot say enough good things. There is a description of each of the skills. There is a log that you can log. Did you practice a skill? Did you not? how to, you can write your feedback. There's a section for you writing a report card, keeping track of what you're feeling that day. There's a mood tracker. There is a skills and a 911 skill-based. Basically, you put in a problem, like it'll say, what are you having trouble dealing with? And you could say distress tolerance, and it kind of works you through step by step. The other great thing about this app is that once a week, it will, if you set it up this way, it will email you a breakdown of all of the graphs, all of your entries, all of your diary cards. It emails it to you once a week, so they're in black and white. You can see it, you can go back to it, you can share it with your therapist. Can't say enough good things. And it's also, you can self-edit it. So if you want to write extra notes next to some of the skills, if you want to add skills into the diary card, maybe something else that you're working on, like the stop skill, or some other kind of thing that's helpful to you, you can do that. What else do I want to mention here? When you're looking for a DBT group, first know a few things. One, the wait lists can be long. The group is structured that it lasts about 24 weeks, so they can only do 2 full DBT groups twice a year. Ideally, there's not more than 8 to 10 people in those groups. You want to keep it small. It's very intense. You want to make sure everyone gets a chance to share their homework. The second thing to know is that it's really expensive. Some of these classes cost $100 a pop. So if you're doing it twice a week for 24 weeks, that's a car note right there. That's a car payment. So know that. When I was through DBT, insurance did not cover it. There are ways around this. You can set up a payment plan with your psychologist or the center running the group. You can also look for discounted groups. You will find groups that are often run by PhD candidates. If you go to your local colleges, see if there is a PhD track in mental health that's offered at that college. See if they offer DBT. Again, you may be put on a wait list. It may be a bit of a wait for you to get in, but it's really discounted. So instead of $100 a session, it could be $25 a session, which is obviously more manageable. There are also, that's true DBT. Now, there are also centers that will offer kind of condensed versions of DBT. So they'll cram 24 weeks into maybe like 6 weeks. You're going to get some tools. You're going to get a strong overview, but you're not going to really delve into the subject matter like a true DBT course would do. If you are looking for a DBT course and you're looking for a psychologist that specializes in borderline personality disorder, I would like to share some tips that I have found helpful in my search. Number 1, you want to find a center that only specializes in personality disorders or DBT, okay? It's like going to a regular doctor, right? You go to a regular generalist, your family physician, to get a checkup, to get your medication refilled, if your arm hurts, right? It's a place to start, but they're not a specialist. So if you have a back sprain, or you have a heart condition, or you have psoriasis, they're going to send you to an orthopedist, or a cardiologist, or someone else that specializes in that need. You wouldn't treat your torn ACL, okay, at a regular family doctor. You would go to an orthopedist. Then you would go to a physical therapist, right? It's the same with your mental health. You want to find the person that specializes and does this full time. Why? Because they keep up to date on their training. They do it so often that they know it back and forth, hopefully. They've treated lots of patients with it. And if this is all they do, then they have become the experts in this. There's also, to be certified as a DBT trainer, You have to keep up with certain amounts of ongoing learning and continued education. So, you don't get a degree and you rest on your laurels. You have to keep up with the current information. So you want to look for a center that specializes in this. True DBT occurs twice a week. There's 4 modules, each module lasting about 6 weeks. They meet twice a week for 90 minutes. And once a week, you meet with a psychologist. They require that you meet with a psychologist or a therapist while you're working through DBT. Now, I highly recommend, and it works most effectively if you choose a psychologist, hopefully at the center that you are working with, hopefully even like the course leader. Usually DBT groups are led, and then there's a co-leader. So usually there's 2 psychologists in the room at the same time conducting the class. You want to look for that. They hopefully can see you once a week on a schedule, not only because they're specialists, but they're also going to get to know you very intimately while you're spending about 3 hours a week in class with them, going over your homework, talking about your struggles. They're going to know you best, and they're going to know how to treat you best. With DBT and a DBT therapist, it's a little bit unorthodox than what you're used to finding in a regular therapy appointment. You make an appointment, you don't chat or talk to your therapist outside of that appointment. You go, you have your 60 minutes, you leave. With DBT, they offer phone coaching, they offer texting, they offer crisis intervention. So it's a very intensive regimen. And they recommend that you finish the first 24 weeks and then you repeat it. Why? Because you don't learn something the first time, and practice makes perfect. It's just like playing a sport or the piano is muscle memory. It becomes mental memory. I need a drink of water. Okay, so here are some questions if you're interviewing or you're researching different centers to be involved with. Ask the following. These are the questions that I would recommend asking. How long have you been treating people with BPD? Are you a DBT trained psychologist? Is treating personality disorders all you do at your center or facility? I would ask them, how big are your groups? If you get an answer like 20, I don't recommend that. That's way too many. If you have 90 minutes in a session, the first 30 minutes is generally spent going over homework from the previous week, and then the next 60 minutes is dedicated to learning a new skill, having a discussion, and doing a mindfulness exercise. If you have 20 people, not everyone's going to get to share, so that is not really super ideal. Look for a group size between 8 and 10. That's what I would recommend. I would also look for what their website looks like. I would look at what reviews people have left. I think if you read a Yelp or a Google review, you can discern whether that person has a grudge or not, or if they're actually leaving an informed, intelligent review or thoughtful review, and they're not just on a vendetta. Read those. See what other experts recommend, call around. If you're in a larger city, you're obviously going to have more resources available to you. So call the different centers, right? Ask one center what they think about this. Hey, Legacy Center, what do you think of the Aqua Center for Treatment of Personality Disorders? That's something to look for. Is it peer reviewed? So those are the resources that I recommend, and that's how I recommend looking, for resources. Again, if you have BPD, you have one of the most treatable, well-researched, noted disorders that there are in all of the clusters of personality disorders. And you have the highest succession rate on your side of recovering. And you're not recovering from you. All you're seeking to do is change some of your maladaptive behaviors. I hope this has been helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, share your comments, thoughts, questions, suggestions, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.